Welcome back to the channel. What is this? A vlog? And for anyone that's new here, look, what I do is I make landscape photography vlogs, all based around the wonderful broad subject of landscape photography. Now, last week, I missed a week. I didn't release a video, and you might be thinking, whatever mate, it's not a big deal, but for me it is, this is something I've become really attached to. And for the last however many weeks, I can't even remember, I've always been out with my camera at least once a week, and last week I didn't, and I've just missed it terribly. And to cut a long story short, for anyone that doesn't know the backstory, last week I was on holiday in Wales. I'm in Wales today. I was on holiday in France, sorry, and it was a bit of a road trip for 9 days, but it was a holiday, and I just felt uninspired. But there's much more to it than that, and I will get into that during this video, and it is all based around the subject of landscape photography, so I look forward to that. Now, as you heard me say earlier, I am in Wales this week, and more specifically North Wales on the wonderful Isle of Anglesey. And a lot like my last video at Sniper Stones in Shropshire, this is somewhere that I have been before, but never with my camera. I've never been here to indulge in some landscape photography, so I'm massively looking forward to that this week. And on top of that, if you cannot tell, we will be getting stuck into some coastal photography as well, which I love and I haven't done in ages. So I'm just all round delighted to be out again this week. Now, I've come to the western side of the island, and this is an awesome location because what we get looking out this way is we look back towards mainland Wales, and more specifically into Snowdonia National Park, which is just incredible. We've got a stunning view here. These pictures won't do it justice in the slightest, of course, but it gives us a wonderful background to play with if we're looking for compositions and stuff like that. So a lot to talk about this week, and of course an incredible place to explore with our cameras. So let's get to it. Wow, this is just absolutely stunning already. I've genuinely only been walking for about 10 or 15 minutes and the inspiration is just back. Now, that kind of leads me on to what I want to talk about, and that's France, really. The main reason I want to talk about it now is just because I'm sort of over it all now. I just wanted to chat about it with you guys, get it out of the way, then we can continue on this evening's adventure. And two things really about France. Firstly, and definitely most importantly, I wanted to reiterate something that I said in the intro. And that is that I was on holiday. It was a 9-day road trip with my girlfriend. It wasn't a dedicated photography trip at all. I'd like to think if it was a dedicated photography trip, it would have been a completely different story. But I'm sure you guys have done it. I just chucked my camera bag in the boot and I thought, you know what? I'm going to a foreign country, I'm going to France. Surely I'm going to end up wanting to get my camera out and I'm going to feel inspired. But it just never happened. And it's funny because we went all the way down to the French Riviera, down to the south coast of France, and I'm sure you guys know it is absolutely stunning down there. We were on some beautiful evening walks and the weather was just incredible. 4 days of just pure sun, not a cloud in the sky, really, really warm, but I just didn't feel inspired to get my camera out. And it really got me thinking this week, how I'm so inspired by the UK as a whole, the UK's landscape, these sort of slaty rocks, these rugged landscapes, the wet, the damp, the cold, the wind, and the beautiful stormy dramatic skies. That's what gets my fire burning inside. But it made me think, is that just my comfort zone? I thought it was a really interesting topic just to briefly bring up in this week's vlog. Have I just become accustomed to these landscapes, and did I not feel inspired down there because it's a challenge? It's something different and I feel outside of my comfort zone. So either way, whatever the answer is to that, I thought, I'll maybe challenge myself sometime in the near future and try and do a little micro trip to somewhere like the Mediterranean, maybe Croatia or something, where the landscapes are just, fairly different to here in the UK, and it's quite dry and, not as rugged, although there are going to be places like that. But I hope you guys know what I mean. I just think that's quite an interesting topic, and yeah, I'm glad to be back in the UK anyway, to say the least, for my photography. So yeah, I'm feeling the inspiration back again. Now anyway, that's out of the way, and we have got a beautiful coastline here to explore. And actually just a couple of minutes ago I saw this beautiful sea, and we've got a few islets dotted out into the sea there, and then in the background we're looking into them Snowdonia Mountains, which is exactly what I want to try and get in at least one of my images this evening, but I think I need to try and get the correct perspective somewhere, so I'm going to try and work on that. But either way, beautiful coast to explore. Let's crack on. Alright, so I hope you guys can see me and hear me alright. It is pretty windy up here, but I just thought I'd stop. It's only been about 5 or 10 minutes since I last taught. This location is stunning. I just wanted to sort of try and show you the scene behind where I said we've got this beautiful sort of couple of islands here. I suppose you'd say in the foreground in terms of if we're going to take a photograph, and then them Snowdonia Mountains in the background, and it's just stunning. And we've got a pretty beautiful sky as well. Now, I just wanted to try and show you the importance of perspective, I suppose, extremely briefly. But you see here, if I was to take a photograph from here, it wouldn't quite work, because compositionally, these couple of islands here, the ones with the lighthouse on the right hand side, are too far to the right, and then the main sort of bulk of the mountains there in Snowdonia are a bit too far to the left. So in my opinion, it's all subjective obviously, I think it'll be a little bit unbalanced, and what I need to do is try and go that way a little bit more, which obviously looking there isn't possible. However, if you look there, that bit of land there seems to jut out a little bit more into the sea, which I think may give me that perspective that I want, where we can create a balance between the islands and the mountains there in the background. It may not work, it might just be the same over there. It doesn't look too far out, but I'm going to go down there and explore and just see if it works. But this is just absolutely stunning. The light is incredible. Look at this, we've got sort of rain over the sea, over in that direction. We've got beautiful golden sunlight there. We're still 2 hours till the sunset as well, and obviously some gorgeous subjects it's looking like. So yeah, this is pretty exciting stuff. So I'm going to go down to this little section of land here and see if we can get the correct perspective. Alright, so we're in a pretty decent location now, I think, for the shot that I'd like to get of these islands here. I keep calling them these islands. I just looked on the Ordnance Survey maps. The lighthouse there is called Roscollon Beacon, and the town up there is called Roscollon, so that makes sense. But yeah, I've got a really nice perspective now, I think. Now, before I get into all of that, I've got my 55-200 lens on, and I'm actually trying a little spot of wildlife photography. You can probably hardly call it that, but I'm having a go. And there's these two beautiful birds that keep playing and flying around here, and guys, I'm really useless with birds. Sorry, it takes a lot of concentration for me. I'm really useless with birds, species, and a lot like trees actually, and I'm starting to get much better with my trees, being out and about, and you know, making a conscious effort to learn a bit more. If anyone knows what these birds are called, I'll show you a little bit of B-roll, and obviously you're going to see a couple of photographs of them as well. I'd love to know. It's probably a common bird, I don't have a clue, but I just know they're not seagulls and they look pretty nice. So I'm trying to grab a few shots of these. I suppose I'll explain to you my settings and all that, if anyone's interested. Like I say, 55-200 lens, I'm manually focusing, because I want to make sure I've got the focus right on the bird and the rock that it's perched on, and not the sea in the background. F5.6, which is the sort of best aperture I can get on this lens, shooting at 200mm, and that's giving me about ISO 200 as well. That's giving me about 1/320th of a second, and I'm shooting on continuous shooting mode, on the high continuous shooting. More just, oh, they've got a nice bit of light on him there. More just so that I can try and get a nice stable shot. And you know what, they don't look too bad. They're actually really, really beautiful subjects, and it's something a little bit different, isn't it? It looks nice with the movement of the sea sort of in the background. The bird's still, obviously it stood on a rock which is nice and still, but then we've got all these waves churning up down here just behind where the birds seem to be perched. So nice and easy for someone like me that doesn't shoot wildlife often. You know, the birds aren't in flight, they're pretty much just stood as still as that lighthouse is out there. So nice and easy. I'll show you a couple of these shots. Please tell me what the birds are, guys, and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about landscape photography. Rightio, I'm set up for my first landscape shot of the evening and I'm quite happy with this. We've got some pretty decent light. I'm actually going to take this shot now. It's a little bit early, we've still got about an hour and a half till sunset. I don't know if I'm going to stick around yet, but what I'm worried about is the sun potentially dipping down below these clouds behind us, and then, you know, like it happens a lot, we could be left with no light for the rest of the evening if it gets snuffed out by some of them low clouds. So just trying to take this opportunity at the minute. So you can see I'm set up there in a portrait dimension, but I'm doing a horizontal panel, something that I've been doing quite a lot recently, and in this instance it's just really suited for it. ISO 100 f5.6 is giving me a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second, which is quite a quick shutter speed, but it's pretty windy. And even set up on the tripod here, we're getting a little bit of camera shake, and I'm zoomed in 55 to 200 lens still at 200mm. So I don't want it to be any sort of camera shake or motion blur in this photograph at all, hence the attempt at getting a fast shutter speed. So I'm shooting it like this because I want to shoot at 200mm so we can get a compression effect almost between the island with the lighthouse on, which is Roscollon Beacon. And I'm not shooting this smaller island on the left, I'm just doing the Roscollon Beacon island and then a few of them beautiful Snowdonia mountains in the background. And yeah, 200mm just to try and compress the photograph a little bit. So it's nice and simple. I'm only taking about 3 photographs from right to left, making sure I get the lighthouse in at the right hand, on the right hand third of the photograph, and I'm trying to get one of the prominent peaks on the left hand third. So I'm really trying to balance this photograph out, like I said I was trying to earlier. It looks, I have just got the photograph just before I started this, so I'm quite lucky because the light has disappeared. It might come back, you know, it might dip below some of them clouds and come back, but actually my last video in Shropshire, the exact same thing happened, and I was like, oh yeah, the light will come back, and it never did. So yeah, I'm trying to not make that same mistake again. Anyway, I'll show you this photograph now, and then I wanted to talk to you really quickly about how I found this location. It's a little bit of a secret, I suppose, although I don't want it to sound like weird or anything. I've not been sort of keeping a secret from you guys. It's just something that I've realised recently where I find a lot of my locations from, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. I hope you like this photograph. Right, I'm back up off my cliff face. I'm back on safe ground. If you look there over my left shoulder, the sun does look like it's going to dip below them low clouds. However, it looks there like there's a rainstorm moving in. It looks as if it's going to intersect the sun. Maybe not, perhaps I'm just making an excuse because I kind of want to go home. I feel like I've got enough out of the evening and I feel really satisfied. I'm quite happy with that photograph. You know, on the back of my camera it looks nice, so yeah, I think I'm going to head back nice and slow. But I wanted to quickly talk to you guys about this secret to how I find some of my photography locations, my landscape photography locations. And it's not much of a secret, it's actually a book or a series of books. Now there is a very popular series of books specifically for landscape photographers here in the UK at least, and they kind of go by the names of literally photographing Scotland or photographing the Peak District or photographing North Wales. I actually have one that is entitled Photographing the Snowdonia Mountains, which is obviously over there, and it's an awesome book written by a bloke called Nick Livesley. I've found so many of my locations there, definitely my wild camping location, so I'd highly recommend that. I'll put a link to that below in the description. But yeah, the books that I'm talking about are not those books. They're actually a series called The Wild Guides, and these are not specifically, you know, created for landscape photographers or photographers of any kind. These are for, I don't know what you'd say, just sort of general adventurers. You know, I use them a lot when I go on little micro adventures with my friends, and it's great for finding hidden gems, I suppose is the best word to use, the best phrase to use. Hidden gems, hidden little coves, cool little places to go wild swimming or even wild camping, but I find them massively useful for my landscape photography. And I thought this would be a good week to mention it, because this location came from the Wild Guide, the Wales Wild Guide, which I have. So yeah, I definitely recommend them if you haven't checked them out. I've got the Wales Wild Guide and the Lake District one, and like I said, they're just awesome, they really are. So I'll put a link in the description to those two books as well if you want to check them out. They come highly recommended from myself. Anyway, chatting away. Whew, I don't know what this thing is here. Some sort of light, it's got a little information thing on. I'll go and read that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. It's great to be back. Please comment below, let me know what you thought, let me know what them birds are. And I shall see you next week on the next adventure. Out.